Wealthy people spend their money to earn more money. The majority of everyone else spend their money to buy things, which makes everybody else around them rich.
Working for yourself is so outdated. Rather, you got to look at three things. Number one, can I exercise what I'm really good at doing? Number two, do I love what I'm doing? Number three, am I making money doing this? Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. If you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be a lot more challenging. You might have to sacrifice evenings. You might have to spend less time on Instagram or Netflix. You might have less weekend time. If you can dedicate yourself, odds are you're going to be successful.
Rich people do not value money the way poor people do. I think a lot of us, if we grew up poor, we believe it takes money to make money. Somebody said that to us because that was how they justified not having their breakthrough and getting trapped.
When something's not working, pivot. That's what successful people do. They pivot, they change, they're flexible. If something's not working, they don't keep doing the same old.
Things that's common, especially for employees, is thinking that they can't escape being an employee. You know, it does take time, patience, and belief, dream, a fantasy, and through that you can create the reality. There's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club, and that's just not true.
Nobody can stop you but you. But the worst thing you can do is disqualify yourself.
It all starts with that mindset of believing that it's possible for you. Because if you don't believe it's possible for you, you're right. But if you believe it's possible for you, you're also right. And whatever your belief is going to change what output you take.
Entrepreneur, right? It's one of the most overused nonsense terms out there. I can teach anybody to become an entrepreneur in 2 minutes flat. All you got to do is go to fiverr.com, open an account, and offer to make videos or images for someone. Boom, you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur.
You can become anything you want to become, but you're going to have to pay a heavy price to get there. So the question is, what is it that you want to do? Most of you aren't going to know the answer to that. So you're going to go explore.
Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. If you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be a lot more challenging. You might have to sacrifice evenings. You might have to spend less time on Instagram or Netflix. You might have less weekend time. If you can dedicate yourself, odds are you're going to be successful.
People that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of a storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions. The whole point is to switch you out of problem mode into solution mode.
Negative emotions are trying to teach you something. They're trying to teach you the opposite. Something else is going on.
The thing with excuses is sometimes they're very true, but it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your goal. So are you going to let it sit with you, or are you going to find a way around it?
Are you working in a job where you can earn the money you need to live the life you want while being fulfilled and happy doing the work you do? I think that is the definition. You don't have to be an entrepreneur for that. Many of the people creating the biggest changes in the world are not entrepreneurs. Think about the engineers at NASA. Think about the people who are inventing new technologies. Think about the people who come up with new medicines that are changing lives. Many of these people are working for companies, but they are paid well, they love their jobs, they're making a contribution to humanity, and it is enough if you're that. This idea that you got to be working for yourself is so outdated. Rather, you got to look at three things. Number one, can I exercise what I'm really good at doing? Number two, do I love what I'm doing? Number three, am I making money doing this?
And what we're good at together is not being right all the time. It's basically learning from your mistakes. So the physics of progress is you come up with a hypothesis. It should be as informed as possible. You figure out a way to turn that into something you can actually do. So you're going to run a test. Then you actually run that test. And then this is where most people fall down. You have to lower your psychological defenses to stare nakedly at the results. And oftentimes that's going to be, you didn't do something well, you didn't think through this right, you made a mistake somewhere. And then if you're willing to do that and you learn from that, then you can re-inform your hypothesis, make it a little bit better, run that whole system again. And once you get in that loop, then you can really make progress. But Yeah, that the tenacity it takes to face your inadequacies and continue to try, that's where we've succeeded.
So when Instagram was just getting off the ground, right, in like 2010, you could go and start an Instagram channel on makeup, and maybe you might end up like Huda Beauty, which has like 49 million fans today. But they were one of the early ones. You got to get in early. I think TikTok is still early. So I think there's an opportunity in TikTok. Instagram, I think, is later stage. But there are also other fields which are picking up right now. It's not just about social media. For example, coaching. Coaching is blowing up right now. More and more companies are looking for coaches for their employees.
What would be worse than frustration would be despair, giving up. No hope, but frustration is a sign that you haven't given up. You know you could do something, but you haven't figured it out.
A lot of people's reasoning, which was ours originally when we wanted to make movies, is we don't have enough money. So we're just going to go and do this thing until we have enough money. We don't have enough time. And the truth is, if you play the no BS, what would it actually take? And you say, I don't have enough money. Then you keep going down and go, well, how much money do I need? Okay, what would it take for me to get that money? And sometimes people don't want to look at the answers. So maybe it takes you having to sell your house, move in with your in-laws, and rent one of their bedrooms for the next 3 years in order to save your money so that you can go and start a company. Well, some people don't want to do that. Okay, well, at least now you have your answer and you're not sitting there using the excuse that you don't have enough money. You just looked at it and like, oh, for me to get there, I need to live with my in-laws for 3 years. I don't want to do that. And now you've just decided. And now you're not beating yourself up over, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not there yet. Or like with us with Quest, we didn't leave ourselves any room for excuses, because we just went down that list of, are we giving this over? Are we doing this? Are we actually showing up? And if the answer is no, then how can you expect to reach your goal?
I am completely egalitarian. I believe everybody has that. When I wrote the book Mastery, which is what this book is about, to prove my point that everyone has it, I interviewed contemporary masters. And one of them is the woman Temple Grandin, who was born with high-level autism, right? She was going to be hospitalized for her entire life. When she was 2 or 3 years old, she had the good luck of finding the right teacher who brought her out of her shell. And she eventually became a very respected professor of animal research, right? She's absolutely brilliant, and she also studies autism itself. If somebody with that kind of disability, that kind of thing, everything's stacked against her, if she can figure it out and reach mastery, then I certainly believe everybody has that potential. But I know it doesn't come easy. It's a process, and you have to be patient, but you have to put in the work.
Go experiment, go try things, just like Lisa was saying. Go play around, go enjoy yourself, figure out what it is that you like. Nothing is ever going to be self-evident. You're never going to come across something like, this is what I meant to do with the rest of my life. You are going to find something that gives you more energy than it takes. When you find something that when you do it, you're like, ooh, this is fun, and you're actually energized by it, then you're going to go down the path of actually gaining skills in that. The more you engage with that, if that continues to be more fun, now it will become a fascination. Once something becomes a fascination, now we're going to really figure out if we can serve other people with that set of skills. If you can, you've got a hope of turning that into a passion. Passion is about acquiring enough skills at something that other people care about, and you have to care about it first and foremost. But if you care about it and other people care about it, now you get into that reciprocal relationship where, and it could be playing the guitar, it could be playing video games, right? Think about somebody that's just an absolute God-tier gamer, but they had to get freakishly good at that. They had to spend a lot of time improving their skill set. So they worked hard to gain a set of skills that allows them to serve not only themselves, but other people. That is the name of the game. The problem is people are expecting something to be self-evident. They are told a lie that they're born with a purpose. You're not born with a purpose. You're going to decide that this passion, this thing that you've worked up to get good at, that allows you to serve not only yourself, but other people, that's now your purpose. So when I was at Quest, my purpose was making sure that people had food that they could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them. At Impact Theory, the goal is to give people a growth mindset at scale through story. So I'm just doing entertaining things, but it's designed to help them get that right mindset. That is my purpose. That wasn't my purpose when I was 12 or 20 or even 30. So you're going to decide, and then you're going to do things to reinforce that in your own mind.
there are lots of different opportunities, but you got to try to find these new fields, these new things which are emerging. Now, here's the good news, right? According to futurist Peter Diamandis, between 2022 and 2026, the world will see as much change as between the year 1900 to 2000. In 4 years, starting next month, we're going to see as much change as between the years 1900 to 2000. New technologies, new opportunities, new things are going to emerge. The whole field of Web3 emerging right now. And this means there's going to be so much opportunity for disruption. If you are a traditional company and you're not nimble and you're not on your toes, this is bad news for you. It's literally bad news. There's going to be massive disruption across companies all around the world. But if you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, it's good news, because there's going to be so much change and so much opportunity for you to disrupt the established players.
So the mastery is about your high level of skill, right? And to do that, you have to go through an apprenticeship. You have to learn things over and over and over again to truly believe that fulfilling your career ambitions is going to lead to a high sense of fulfillment in your life.
Our lives don't get better by chance. They get better by change. Change is one of the necessary laws of life. Remember this: action and adaptability create opportunity. Adapt and overcome, and watch everything change before your eyes. Adaptability isn't just some secret for survival. It is the power to build the future. Adaptability is the capacity to be modified for a new purpose, to be moved this way and still punch through targets and reach my goals and be everything I've been called to be, but I've got to adapt to the times. Adaptability requires movement. Adaptability requires growth. Adaptability requires wisdom and knowledge and understanding and revelation and awareness. We've got to be able to recognize when we're outdated, when we need an upgrade, when we've got to go to that next level, and I can't be embarrassed about it. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is understanding that in order for me to have this lifestyle that I see in my head, I'm going to have to raise my standards. This is an adjustment. This is a modification that in times past, this version of me was good enough, but it only got me where I am. And in order for me to go to that next level, something inside of me has to change. So when you face storm, when you face adversity, when you face trial, when you face tribulation, in the eye of the storm, in the middle, in the core of your devastation, when you are faced with opposition, that's when you raise the heat. You don't change your message, you change your methodology. Are you understanding me? Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. And so the harder life hits me, the harder I'm going to fight, the harder I'm going to believe, the harder I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep going, I will persevere, and I'm going to build resilience. And so the harder life hits, the stronger I get. You've got problem-solving skill, you've got a resilience, you have a determination, you have a measure of commitment that nobody in the room has because you've been able to adapt. And for many of us, we are in the halftime of our destiny. And if you're going to win, you are going to have to make the adjustments, the necessary modifications to have your future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It changes your operating systems. It shifts your behavior. Resilience empowers you to build new habits. It's not running from your programming. It's upgrading. It's taking it to the next level. The necessary growth strategies, necessary modification, personality adjustment, attitude upgrades, the necessary The wise adapt themselves to the circumstances, like water molds itself to the pitcher. To understand the revelation of adaptability is to realize that life is lived on levels. I've got angles, I've got approaches. That destiny is in the details. It's how I see this thing. It's how I can adjust my thinking. It's how I can upgrade my inner software. At some point, you got to sit back and think to yourself, you know what? I've been here too long. I've thought like this too long. I've hurt too long. I've been fractured long enough. I've been depressed long enough. You know what? I've been here too long. It's time for me to go. We all have to get here where we realize we have not adapted to the current times. And this is not a departure from authenticity. This is not losing yourself. This is finding your next level. The question is, are you willing to adapt? Adaptability is the bridge to the future. I need to be able to adapt cognitively. I gotta be able to adapt emotionally, my personality, my behavior, my language, my thinking. I've got to be able to adapt, and it is only when I'm willing to accept this reality that I can have my future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It shifts your behavior. It's time to break through. You've lost long enough. You've been in your learning season long enough. It's time to apply what you've learned. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. You got to start thinking about the future. You've got to start thinking about sustainability. You got to start thinking about future generations. Your perspective, how you see this thing, how you approach this thing, the angles that you take, the approaches, the mentalities, just one little tweak in the game, and there is a future for your family. And this is the power of understanding that if I can make a few tweaks, if I can make a few adjustments, if I can see this thing just a hair differently, winner by a hair. Have you ever heard that? There are champions that win by a hair because they made an adjustment. There are golf players and basketball players and football players and soccer players and fighters and warriors and NASCAR drivers and champions and lecturers and teachers and students, movie directors and artists and people all over the globe who have made adjustments, who have adapted to a circumstance, who have adapted, who have modified and tweaked their game and beat on their craft and got the trophy. This is why there's power in mentorship, because a mentor will show you something you didn't see. A coach will pull something out of you that you never knew was there. The ability to adapt, to make a tweak, to make an adjustment. It's the group of employees that's been called to work 2 more hours. It's the team that's been called to win a championship in the snow or rain or sleet, or the weather's changed, or now all of a sudden the crowd is no longer cheering your name. Can you adapt? This is the question. This is the golden ticket. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants new zip codes and area codes, and everybody wants impact and influence. But if I don't have adaptability, I'll never have my future.
For some of you, it's really for all of you. But the ones in this room that are smart enough, hungry enough, determined enough, with the right mindset and the right mentality, will see this opportunity and you will grab it. Everybody with me? Successful people are flexible. Successful people can pivot. When something's not working, pivot. That's what successful people do. They pivot, they change, they're flexible. If something's not working, they don't keep doing the same old because it's not working. Does that make sense? And grown men and grown women think a certain way, operate a certain way, and have a certain mindset and mentality. I want you to understand you are a part of a legacy. You've heard about your mom's story, you heard about your dad's story. Now it's time for you to build your story. You're saying to yourself, you know what, I got a GED, nobody wants me. I used to be an alcoholic, nobody wants me. My own father used to tell me I was no good, nobody wants me. I'll just work this little dead-end job and we'll figure out what's next, because I don't have anywhere to go. Some of you guys can relate to what I'm saying. Somehow, some way, you've disqualified yourself. I work with so many people and I can relate to it. Nobody can beat you but you. Nobody can stop you but you. But the worst thing you can do was disqualify yourself. Don't ever confuse your potential with who you are at the time. Many of you guys, your mom made sacrifices for you. Your dad made sacrifices for you. Now it's time for you to grab the bull by the horns and impact your legacies. Everybody with me? Your mom and dad have this story. Your grandfather, your grandmother has his and her story. Now you are building your story. It can happen to you, it can happen for you, but you gotta write these goals down, plain up on tablets, so they can be seen by men, and that man and that woman is you. Some of you guys have an opportunity to be special. Some of you guys have an opportunity one day maybe even to have your own store. Oh, don't look at me like that. Maybe you can have your own store. You're a manager right now. Maybe one day you could be a franchisee. I dreamt about the NBA and it happened. I wanted to be a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. And it happened. But I wrote my visions plain up on tablets. And every day that I looked at them, I was focused. Believe more, want more. Just be flexible, believe more, do more, want more. You're more excited about Facebook and Instagram and power. Oh, I can't miss power. Oh, empire, I can't miss empire. But some of you guys, it's golf. You know, I go to work, but man, I can't wait to hit that golf course. My father taught me something very valuable. But you know what? You will dwell in what you dwell on. You will dwell in what you dwell on. If you dwell on marijuana, you will dwell in marijuana. And you will get the weed smoker's reward. I thought about it the other day. I'm from Chicago. I've never been to a thug retirement party. Have you? I've never been to a thug retirement party. I guess I have. They're called funerals. What you dwell in, you dwell on. So can I give you a little bit of advice? Make sure your value system is good. Make sure your value system makes sense. Some of you guys may be taking college courses. If you're in school, raise your hand. Can I ask you guys a question? Everybody in this room is pretty much legally grown. Am I right or wrong? Is there any excuse for an adult not to get A's? Is there? I mean, I was silly in middle school, were you? I was immature in high school, were you? I was an alcoholic in college, maybe you were too. I was at every party with my red Solo cup. But now I'm 50 years old. I got a wife. I got kids. I got mortgages. I got bills. School is over. That's all about the real deal right now. You guys with me? Is there any excuse for an adult not to get an A out of life? So when you go to work, is there any excuse for you not to be an A manager? Is there any excuse for your store not to be an A store? Is there any excuse for you to go home and not be an A husband? Is there any excuse for you not to be an A wife or a mom or a dad? Is there any excuse? Because we're not in middle school anymore. We're not in high school anymore. See, in life, what I've learned, to be successful, we have to pivot. To be successful, we need to be flexible. The only way someone can reach their potential is through training and development. The New England Patriots are a training and development organization masquerading as a football team. You guys know they had 2 players on their team that didn't even play college football? One played lacrosse and the other played rugby. But Bill Belichick said it simple. I got 2 core values. Love playing football and do your job. Love playing football, do your job. Love playing football and do your job. And you can play for me. I don't care about your background. I don't care where you came from. You can play for me as long as you love playing football and as long as you do your job, I'll do the rest, because we are a training and development organization masquerading as Jersey Mike subs. In fact, we're so good, we can take a 6th-round pick named Tom Brady and turn him into the greatest quarterback of all time. Don't forget he was a 6th-round pick. Well, they got lucky. Really? You ever notice what happened when Tom Brady gets hurt? That backup quarterback looks good too. So Tom Brady gets healthy real quick. They had a guy named Matt Castle. Tom Brady tore his ACL. Matt Castle comes in and goes 11-3. That's a training and development organization masquerading as a college NFL football team. Nick Saban put in a backup quarterback in the second half of a national championship. Who does that? This kid has not played all year. And in the second half of the national championship was his first action all year, and Tua led them to a championship. Did Nick Saban trust Tua, or did he trust his training and development? I had a goal of playing in the NBA, and I got there. You guys know I had a goal of doubling my NBA income, and I got there. If you set a goal, and you make the intention that you're going to get there, do you know that you writing it down and looking at it every single day, you're 7 times more likely to achieve that goal?
We never hear any stories about people that start in the middle and go straight down, okay? And I went straight down and then down and then down.
I'd like to believe that I could look in the mirror and tell myself I'm great and then I'd feel it. But if you're destroying yourself the other 23 hours and 56 minutes, the self-talk isn't going to matter. Rich people do not value money the way poor people do. I think a lot of us, if we grew up poor, we believe it takes money to make money. Our parents told us that. Maybe a grandparent or the neighbor or somebody said that to us because that was how they justified not having their breakthrough and getting trapped. They're like, the reason I didn't get out. And we know everybody's got an excuse in their lifetime. Everybody uses them at some point in their lifetime to trap themselves. This idea that it's not true, it's a myth.
What do all these successful people have in common? Whether it was the mattress dealer, the car dealer, the furniture dealer, or Elon Musk, they spend money, man. They spend money. They spend a lot of money. And they don't worry about money the way I was worried about it. They use money, they used it. They didn't save it. They didn't hoard money. Mm-hmm. And the greatest companies on this planet today, the ones that have some of these companies have lost money for 25 years. Look at Amazon.
Yeah.
Reinvest, 1.7 million employees. When I started, I remember I looked at Ernst Young. I said, I have a buddy that worked at Ernst Young. I said, how many employees you got? He's like, 240,000.
Wow.
And I'm worried about 10 people. Mm-hmm. What am I thinking? Mm. So when I quit studying individuals and started studying people, everything shifted for me. What is this big company doing? Mm-hmm. Because that also relieved me of being competitive with this guy, Pete, and started saying, okay, I'm going to go do what Coca-Cola does. That's when I bought the plane.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
How old were you when you bought the plane?
I was 50, maybe 55, the first one. I bought it because I studied what Coca-Cola was doing. They bought planes. I said, why are they buying planes? Oh, then I learned how they write them off. And then I learned how they trade them every 3 years.
That's crazy.
So notice every 3 years, I'm trading a plane. I'm getting rid of it, replacing it with another one. But what are they using it for? They don't use it for pleasure. They're not using it for Instagram photos. Right. They're using it to go and set up headquarters in other countries.
Wow.
So that's when I wrote, if you're not first, you're last, because when I started studying these companies, I'm like, Coca-Cola's everywhere. You can't go any place and not see Coca-Cola. I was like this big. I was always thinking about what can I keep? Mm-hmm. And they were thinking about how many shells can we get on? How many eyeballs can we see? Mm-hmm. So that's when it all clicked for me.
I'm a guy that grew up in the middle class. All I do is do drugs all day long. I don't learn a damn thing, nothing. One night, there's a deal that goes down in my house. Me and another buddy are partying. They call it partying. It's never a party. It's always bad. I open the door to walk this dude out, and this other guy jumps up on this step, puts a .45 caliber pistol right in my face, literally right here in my face. Jammed the barrel right into my head. You can see the scar right here. okay? Then he took the back of it and started hammering both sides of my head, underneath the mouth, on top of the head, put 76 stitches in my head and face. And I went to the hospital. My mom was called to the hospital. My mom had no idea who I was. She's like, but where's my son? 28 days later, I was in a treatment center for drug addiction. And I finally put my first couple of days not using drugs together. But more importantly than not doing something, I started something that day. I'm going to become somebody. I want a great life. I want to be the guy that has freedom. I went into work the next day. The people that I worked for were gracious enough to let me keep that job. I took that addiction for drugs and literally threw it into my work.
I really started learning from in the beginning. What you learn is you're learning from the master, you know, and so I'm duplicating and emulating. Then at some point you cross over and you become the master. If you're a guy like me, I'm always looking to improve everything. I'm looking for another little tweak, another little twist. You and I did that with the podcast. I'm looking for that next thing all the time, how to make something just a little better, a little faster. And so at some point, I kept studying this guy until I was able. In the beginning, I didn't challenge anything. I duplicated.
Let me follow the script that I learned. Let me use exactly what he's telling me to do. Do it.
Whatever I heard, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna make that work. That's gonna be my stable datum. And once I could trust that, then I could build on top of it. I never butted anything. I got a better way in the beginning. Dude, until I got the results over and over, consistent results, then I started teaching it to other people. Then I started learning angles. And then I basically created my own style and I actually almost threw away what I had learned and created this new thing called information-assisted selling.
Information-assisted selling.
Where I started leading with what people wanted rather than this guy kind of hid. It was the old school, hide it. Don't avoid the price, bring it up later. And that's where I really started accelerating everything, giving people the information up front, allowing you to understand how much this watch or ring was or car was. Before you even asked about it, I'd tell you it's $58,000.
Right away. So you wouldn't wait till the very end. You'd say, here's everything.
Look, if you're shopping for a car or a watch or a ring or a coaching program, whatever it is, you probably want to know how much it is. I know I would. This particular product's $58,000. It would require about $2,500 down. Your payments would be about $550 a month. Let's be sure you're on the right product. You see, I got the value proposition, the money. I got you thinking about money right now. I want you thinking about money so that when I show the product, you can start making sense of it. Because I can't convince you that it's worth it. You have to convince you.
They gave me a little pill and said, you need to take this little pill every day. I said, dude, I came here to get off pills, okay? And before I left, the counselor grabbed me and said, hey, if you don't give up your ideas of getting rich, because in 28 days, you share your whole life. All your dreams, your goals, everything. They're trying to get to what happened. Give up all your ideas of writing books. Give up your ideas of helping people all over the world. Just help the alcoholic and the drug addict, and that'll be enough. Give up any ideas of being rich and famous, being free and financially wealthy. Give it up, okay? Because if you need to be satisfied with one thing, not using drugs every day. So I went home with my little pill, sat down that night, looked at that little pill on the little table that I had, and remembered what that dude was telling me. Give up all these ideas. Looked at that pill. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna show this guy that I'm not powerless, not unmanageable. I can control my life. I'm gonna get rich. And so if I could just stay busy, okay, if I could just have a place to work every day and something to do and somebody to call and somebody to be in front of, that was my big fear. My big fear was that little white pill. I threw those in the trash that night. Never would use another one again. And I just made a decision that day not to quit, not to be powerless, not to be unmanageable, but to be somebody. And I've been doing that since I was 25. Every day waking up, today I'm gonna be somebody. I'm not just gonna think about it, I'm gonna be somebody today. I'm gonna grow into who I should be.
Wealthy people spend their money to earn more money. The majority of everyone else spend their money to buy things, which makes everybody else around them rich.
My truth in my experience has been, I have to jump higher. I have to show up earlier. I have to be the first person to turn off the light and the last person to turn off the light. I have to make sure that every number is correct and every T is crossed and every die is dotted. The way that I show up is by being consistent, so consistent that people cannot doubt your capacity to succeed. You have to work harder than the average person. And if you accept those terms, you cannot complain about those terms. I have only known success on the back of consistency. Do I think you could be a success without being consistent? Perhaps, if you have other resources and tools that I was never given. But coming from where I am, my perspective has only been consistency, and the discipline has been everything that I have ever gotten on the back of doing it again and again and again. It is what I teach. It is what I preach. It is what I believe.
You can't be afraid to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable with somebody, about 95% of the time, they'll reciprocate in kind. And when both sides are vulnerable, that forms a connection. And that is a way that I found all the time. Or also another one is, tell me your story. Everybody loves to tell their story. And I'm just naturally a curious person, so I love hearing. That never bores me. So it's really the power of one-on-one relationships.
We're all given 24 hours in a day. So the difference between somebody who becomes successful versus somebody who does not is now what input you put in those 24 hours. If you're spending your time on Netflix, if you're spending your time playing video games, if you're spending all of your time doing things that don't add any value financially to your life, well, if you compare that to somebody who's now working, who's now learning, who's investing in the education, you're going to see two completely different outputs.
I had no business starting a business, and yet I started one. And I have found ways to create and make and sustain multiple 7-figure revenue streams. And while that may or may not be the case for everybody else, I strongly believe that every single business owner, once armed with what they know how to do, and once armed with the marketing, and once armed with the discipline, and once armed with the consistency, that they too can build a 6-figure revenue stream. I believe that with every fiber in my bones. Can you deliver on the promise that you are making? Can you sustain those customer relationships? Because if then, I believe, hands down, you can create a 6-figure revenue stream. And in America, if you are creating a 6-figure revenue stream, you are in the 1% of the 1%. And I think to myself, as a person who received government-issued food and substances, I went to college on the back of government aid. I was the recipient of people's benevolence and taxpayers' money for me to go back and give back to a community. I think to myself that my business has become a passport for me to move entire legacies, industries, timelines, predisposed ideas of who I should be based on my gender, color of skin, or how I was raised. And I'm like, I became the thing that broke the system and the statistic, but I don't think I'm special. I believe everybody can do this. And so on the days that it becomes very hard, I think to myself, you have the passport. Are you going to keep it for yourself, or are you going to help other people get out too? On the days that are the darkest, I always think to myself, can you help one person get a passport today? And that's the thing that continues to keep me pushing forward.
You know, one of the things my dad always said is the key is when the world hands you a sack of sour lemons, the objective of the game is to turn it into sweet lemonade.
I'm going to give the advice that I heard my 3rd year of business. I was sitting with a group of other photographers who were farther in their career, and I had always found a way, even though I couldn't afford to get educated specifically in photography realm because there was very high ticket experiences, I would find a way to leverage what I thought I was good at in exchange. I'm a firm believer in bartering. Bartering is my favorite thing. And so I realized that while I'm not necessarily a copywriter, I wouldn't classify myself as like a writer. I had a blog at the time. I still have a blog, but at the time I was blogging every single day, and other photographers started noticing the quality of work that I was doing. And so I found a photographer in my area. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, hey, would I be able to go to your event and write a few blog posts about your event? And in addition to, if you let me come, could I also write your bio, like for your website? Because I gave like a little preview. I was like, his bio was just like, great photographer, love my camera. And I kind of wrote just like the first paragraph of what could be his bio based on things that I had read about him on the internet. And he was just like, yes. So I got into this room, and what he said, I felt like it just pierced my heart. And this is the thing that I will tell everybody again and again. He said, jump and the net will appear. And it was the first time in my entire life that I had ever heard somebody speak so brazenly about taking a risk. Again, who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks.
I built a high performance team as we were getting going, right? And that's the most important job of any CEO. And I really believe that the organization, the company with the best people wins. And the key is how to get them working together as a team, right? You know, the way I believe in that is you've got to have a North Star, a noble cause. You also need an enemy. Because, you know, that stops the water cooler talk, nothing gets the blood stir. You know, in the United States State Department, we call it an adversary, but in business, we call it an enemy. And then the third thing you need is you need a plan. And with all these companies that I had the good fortune to build and these different organizations I ran, we would always have a playbook. And that's basically the vision, the mission, the values, the team rules, long-term goals, strategy, all boiled down to execution. So it really was a way to maintain alignment and a tremendous tool when it comes to scaling.
Now the question is, how can you make your hard work the most scalable? Because that's now what will take you from, okay, I don't want to be broke. So now you start working hard, which is great. I 100% recommend working hard, because without that hard work, it's going to be impossible for you to see any real level of success. But now you're working hard. The next question is, how can you make your hard work the most rewarding? What can you do to make that hard work give you the biggest dividends and the highest returns? And this is where people say work smart. You know, some people say work smart, don't work hard. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think you need to work smart and work hard. They go hand in hand, because that hard work is going to allow you to scale your smart work. But you now have to understand, okay, I want to become more financially successful. So now, how do I do that? What is the financial education? What am I working for? When I make more money, what am I going to do with this money? Where am I going to invest it? How am I earning this money? What can I do in terms of taxes to protect my wealth? What can I do with my investments to scale them? What can I do to build an asset? What can I do to build a business? What can I do to scale the assets that I do own? So now you start asking these questions. And I know this is getting very deep in some of these topics, but it all starts with that mindset of believing that it's possible for you. Because if you don't believe it's possible for you, you're right. But if you believe it's possible for you, you're also right. And whatever your belief is going to change what output you take. Wealth is mindset before it hits your bank account. And when it comes to the differences between the rich and the poor, it doesn't start with how much money you make. It doesn't start with what degree you have. It doesn't start with who your parents are. It doesn't start with what background you have. It starts with what mindset you have. And this is really the root of wealth.
Oftentimes, the person who stops you from running the marathon is nobody else but you. If you want to start a business, the person who's stopping you is nobody else but you. If you decide to run the marathon, somebody's gonna have an opinion of you. While they're sitting on their couch, no less, they will have an opinion that you decided to run the marathon or you didn't decide to run the marathon. While somebody is sitting on their couch behind their keyboard, they're gonna have an opinion of you starting a business or not starting a business. The fact of the matter remains, are you going to let somebody else's opinion dictate what you are going to do in your life and the reason you were put on this earth? Oftentimes, the person who stops ourselves from doing other things while we would like to point at other people because they have an opinion, it is actually us. We choose to believe, listen, adhere to somebody else's opinions, but somebody else's opinion of us doesn't pay our bills. The person who has an opinion about what it is you're doing was most likely never going to become a customer. So all of a sudden, somebody who was never going to buy or support the thing that we were going to do, be it passing out Gatorade on the marathon or by becoming a paying customer, they were never going to be that person, yet those are the people who we let stop us doing from the very thing that we do. We stop ourselves when what we need to say is, not everyone will be for us or about us. Do you accept the terms of that? And if you say yes, then do the dang thing and do it to the best of your ability.
What are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. The crazy part about business, you only need one hit. That's it. Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, all these people really just did one thing. But I've worked directly for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Matt Kohler, these are all billionaires. Sean Parker, been around Peter Thiel a little bit. I think the two biggest kind of surprises, 2 or 3 of them, one, they didn't set out to become a billionaire. They just really cared about a problem. Now, the second part of that, most of them didn't get to become a billionaire or super rich for 20 years. And recognizing that and being like, okay, cool. If I can be patient and focus on longevity, I can become a millionaire, multimillionaire, maybe billionaire or beyond. Things that's common, especially for employees, is thinking that they can't escape being an employee. You know, it does take time, patience, and belief, dream, fantasy, and through that you can create the reality. I've done a lot of things, man. I've been swinging for a long time, and that's something that's available to everyone, and I do think that's missed out on, that there's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club, and that's just not true. I tried 24 different businesses to finally get to AppSumo, to finally eventually get rich. Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it can even be small. Like one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to? Well, what you're excited about. And then the reality is that you can actually get going towards that dream sooner than you realize. Everyone should be an entrepreneur, everyone, because if you get fired today, what's your backup plan? Go on Indeed.com and pray. Like having an entrepreneurship where you can have your own business, and if you start it right now, not how, you just get started. And that a lot of what we cover that is exactly $1 million weekend. You could do it in a weekend, which everyone has. They can change their life in 48 hours. You have the option. I know a lot of people, let's take AppSumo.com. We have a lot of people who have very successful side businesses, and they're happy with their day jobs, and that's great. But I think people don't swing enough. They don't even get started swinging, and that's, you know, they're not ready on the sidelines. And there's never a good time. The best time is right now. It's not yesterday because that passed. It's not tomorrow because you don't know. It's right now. There's 3,100 billionaires on the planet, which is not that many. So if you want to meet one and learn from one, that's a really great cheat code of life, and they're accessible. And so taking a step back around interviewing billionaires on our YouTube channel, and then myself running almost $100 million a year business at AppSumo.com, it's the power of asking is the most powerful thing that no one is really improving on or really getting started on. And that's available. There's no exclusivity on it. The upside of asking is unlimited, and the downside is a moment of discomfort. The second thing with this YouTube channel from interviewing billionaires and millionaires is that there's so many different ways of getting rich. I thought that everyone else you can only get rich on the computer and on these worldwide webs. I didn't know how to do it, but I thought that was the only way. And so through the YouTube channel, it's been so powerful and so special. There's Larry Janeski. He's making $600 million a year on basements. You have this lady, Jan, which I guess it's kind of funny. Her name is Jan. She does jam. She got rich selling strawberries. There's Michael Hudner, who did ships. There's Rafa and James, who did energy trading. Right? There's such a phenomenal variety of people that are getting rich outside of just computers. And I think that's so exciting to think about, hey, what is the area that I really like? Is it cooking? Is it doing landscaping? Is it computers? And the ability in that to create a lifestyle and a lot of money around areas that we're interested in. You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got a 10x today, and you got a 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year, and it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired, you can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future. There's a lot more smarter people out there than they give themselves credit for. The only difference is that I start. That's the biggest difference. But I would say the success of a founder and success if you want to be an employee CEO within a company is how are you being resourceful? How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain like, oh, I don't have this. Like there's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more? When you're going somewhere in a car, you're like, of course I want a destination. Then why don't we replicate that in business? If you look at all the best CEOs today, the ones that I admire, almost all of them are immigrants. My father's an immigrant, didn't speak English, came to this country. Satya at Microsoft, name these companies. I mean, just most of them. The guy running Google, Sundar, A lot of the ones. I mean, even Elon Musk, who is debatably a great CEO, South Africa. And so what is it with them that we can all learn from? And at AppSumo.com, we have Eamon from Iran, my father's from Israel, Alona's from Uzbekistan, Sean is from London, Vanessa's from Colombia. What is it about immigrants that we can all copy? Because that is what built America. We all came here from somewhere else. And so the two things that have really struck with me, and I saw this woman who exemplified it. Her name was Sharon. And she kicked so much, and she was working basically at the Best Western, serving breakfast. And if you've never been to a Best Western, it should be called the OK Western, right? It sucks. It sucks. But she was working like she was at, the Four Seasons. I could not believe it. She's like bringing me pancakes. She's doing all these things. And she was acting like a founder and an immigrant. I would say she is an immigrant. And I asked her, I said, tell me more. What's really going on? She's like, there's two things. It's my attitude and it's my effort. Because that's in control, that you're totally in control of your attitude. And that's what I look for when I work with people and we hire people at AppSumo.com. And her effort. There's literally no restriction on effort. There's no law. The only law is 24 hours. Besides that, you can work as hard as you want. A lot of my success is just because I'm in the market and the market does well. But I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking and I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website, don't worry you don't have a big social media presence, but what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it and they don't do anything about it. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that. I think money is very sensitive, and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it. But definitely there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it and different things that people enjoy. A lot of the interesting thing about success is that it's always externalized, right? It's like that person is an icon, that thing is successful, they're doing well. And I really think it's like, when do we finally feel like we're doing what we think our potential is? And that is our own icon, our own legendary status. And I would say around 40 is when I finally felt more internal validation and I stopped focusing on so much of the external validation. Like, how much money do I have? Do I have more than that guy or girl? Did I do the things externally wanting versus like, am I doing really what I want? And am I proud of the hard work that I'm doing for myself? And around 40, I would say I'm really proud of what I've been able to do.
Can I ask you a question right now? Can I ask you a real question? Not your neighbor, I'm talking to you. What kind of student are you right now in life? You're in charge of your promotion. If you do 5 million and want to get to 10, you're in charge. In order for you to rise up, you better take your game to the next level. Your mindset needs to go to the next level. Your information needs to go to the next level. Your relationships need to go to the next level. Take your money and get information and access, and you will get good habits and good rituals, and you will go to the next level. I'm going to become somebody different. What do I need to do? You need to have an honest self-assessment about what your weaknesses are. And that's how you get to the next level. Can I ask you a question? You're not where you want to be. How good is your movement? When did you stop moving? Or is your movement inconsistent? Is your movement lackadaisical? Is your movement just weak? If you want to be a shark, they are always hunting. They are always looking. They are always grinding. So question, my friend, you trying to get to that next level by running your mouth? No, you got to get to that next level through your movement. You got to get to that next level through your activity. You got to get to that next level by how you operate. Can I ask you a question? How strong is your movement? What time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you go to sleep? And how much time do you waste throughout the day? See, if you're wasting time, you got poor movement. If you're wasting time, you got weak movement. The only thing none of us can redeem is the time. You see, Bill Gates gets 24 hours a day. Any successful person you know, they get the same 24. And don't you ever forget that the rest of your life.
Don't you ever stop moving. Don't you ever go backwards. To be a shark is about how you move, how you operate, how you navigate. See, as long as we connected, my friend, you can't stop, you can't quit. I ain't gonna let you. Not on my watch, baby. Get back in the game. It ain't over till you win. You might say, Walt, that's me, man. I quit. I got lazy. Man, I'm not moving. I'm laying in the bed sad, lonely, depressed, angry because my girlfriend broke up with me, angry because my first business failed, angry because I didn't get into my dream school. Let me tell you, son, it's a long race. It's a long race. Life is a marathon, baby. But if you stop running, you won't finish the cross line. If you stop running, you won't get to the finish line. So as long as you can hear the sound of my voice, don't you ever stop moving. Don't you ever go backwards. And sharks never retreat. Sharks never retreat. And they pivot when they need to pivot. Can I ask you a question? Do you need to pivot right now? Your business idea is not working. Pivot. Your marriage is not working. Change how you operate. Pivot. Success is all around you. Just pay attention. You know, anyone that knows me knows I love sharks. Sharks are powerful creatures. Sharks are majestic creatures that run the ocean. Don't you want to run things? Don't you want to run your company, run your business, run your neighborhood, run your industry? If you want to run things, we got to study sharks. How? Why? Sharks don't swim. They swim. What do I mean by that? They got better movement. They just move better than every other fish in the ocean. In fact, a shark is a fish. But why do we call them sharks? Sharks are at the top of the food chain because they know how to move. Sharks are at the top of the food chain because they operate differently than all the other fish. If you want to get to the top of your food chain, I just laid the framework that you gotta move different. You gotta operate different. You gotta attack different. You gotta think different. You gotta be different if you wanna be at the top of your food chain. Let's look at sports. I mean, doesn't LeBron just move a little different than every other athlete? Doesn't Tom Brady just move a little different than all the other quarterbacks? Go throughout the industry. Jay-Z, Beyonce, they just move a little different than everybody else. So if you want to be the top, if you want to get to the top, you got to move different. You got to move better. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. You might be in sales. If you want to be a sales shark, you got to move different. You might still be in school. You want to be a straight A student, you got to move and operate differently. You're a young, aspiring athlete in high school or college, trying to make it to the league, trying to make it to the top. You can. It's right in front of you. But you got to move different. You got to operate different. You got to operate better in your social circuits. You gotta operate better in school, better in class, better in the sales meeting, better in front of the client. Why not? How do you move right now? I mean, let's be honest, how do you operate right now? And here's the truth. If you're operating the right way, you don't need to brag about yourself because others are gonna brag about you. Can I ask you a question? You got some wounds. You got some scars, but are you still willing to battle? Are you still willing to fight for success? Fight for being wealthy, fight for getting out of debt, fight for your marriage, fight for your family, fight for whatever you gotta fight for. The thing I love about a shark, they never stop fighting. Don't let failure stop you. Don't you ever let rejection stop you. Don't you ever let people stop you. You stop moving forward because they said this and they said that. Let me tell you something about what he say and she say. Haters stopped you? Really? Let me teach you something very powerful. When you get successful, haters are a part of the landscape. If you don't have haters, your vision is too small. Sharks only look up. They can't look down. In fact, if a shark attacks you in the ocean, get beneath it. If a shark attacks you in the ocean, just get beneath the shark and your problems will go away because a shark can't look down. See, when you're looking at haters, you know what you're doing? You're looking down. When you get distracted by haters, you know what you're doing? You're keeping your eyes off the prize, baby. Haters are a part of the landscape, but haters are beneath you. And the real truth about haters, they wish they did it themselves.
The real truth about haters, they don't have the courage to go for it themselves. Sharks only look up. They can't look down. Stay positive, my friend. If it didn't work this time, try again. Oh, it worked the second time, try it again. I don't care how many times that you need to try, no one can stop you but you. You gotta figure out what kind of shark you're gonna be. You gotta figure out what type of species of shark that you are really made up to be. The world is full of all types of sharks. A lemon shark functions and thrives in captivity. A lemon shark doesn't need a lot of space to be successful. Walmart in a little bitty small town in Arkansas. Don't look at me like that. You might be saying to yourself, well, Walter, I'll be successful, but I'm from a small town. I'm a small business owner. The only way small can hold you back is when you think small, when your vision is small. See, if you think big, it don't matter where you're from. If you think big, it don't matter how small your town is. Why? A lemon shark, baby. You gotta blow up in the town you in. I don't care if it's 5,000 people. I don't care if it's 5 people. If you got vision, write it plain up on tablets so it can be seen by men, and that man is you. That woman is you. Maybe you're the lemon shark that God needs to blow up your small town. Maybe you're a bull shark. Bull sharks love murky water. They don't mind trouble. They love murky water. They don't mind darkness. They love murky water. They hunt better in the night. They hunt better when it's dark. A bull shark can function in both salt water and fresh water. Valuable. Are you that bull shark? Are you just like a bull shark that can function in a good economy or a bad economy? Are you the bull shark? It don't matter with you, wherever you put me. Are you the bull shark who can function in a big town or a small town with white people, black people, Hispanic people, Italian people, Russian people? I mean, a bull shark can function in salt water and fresh water. In other words, a bull shark is whatever you put me in, I'm gonna make it out on top. Wherever you drop me off, I'm gonna make it. Why? Because I'm a bull shark. And then you have the great whites. Oh, then you got the great white shark, baby. They go deep. They love hunting in the deep. They are always going for the throat, and they don't stop until they win. See, when you go to the swimming pool, most people stay in the shallow end, but not great whites, baby. Not great white sharks. They go into the deep end. They love going deep. For you to become a millionaire, you gotta go deep. Some of you guys gotta read more. Some of you guys gotta study more. Some of you gotta change your relationship. Why? Because your friends are shallow. Your family is shallow. And if you wanna be a great white, baby, you gotta get some new friends. You gotta get some new conversations. You gotta get some new material, new information, new access to new people that can take you to a place you've never been. All great white, baby, they go deep. It's time for you to go deep. The best part about a great white shark is that they understand they need teamwork. They understand they need teammates. You see, you gotta understand that when you become a great white shark, it's not just about you anymore. When you become a great white shark, it's about how many people can you take with you? How many people can you make successful?